Coming up next, we have Aaron Orr from MSD, who will present us some insights around New Zealand Fest. Aaron, if you'd like to come to the platform, please. If you put your hands together for Aaron. Thank you.
Let's figure this out. Or not. Ah. Anyway, while we're waiting, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name's Aaron Orr. I'm a director in the employment portfolio at MSD. My team's responsibility within MSD is the design and enhancement of employment products and services. And in the last year or so, we've also taken on work supporting our frontline with immigration supports. That's working with employers looking to bring workers in through the AEWV and the RSE schemes. I also sit on the National Labour Governance Group representing MSD. So what I want to talk to you about today is what's going on in the labour market that impacts MSD, and therefore how that's going to impact our conversations with yourselves, the employers. Talk about what engagement with MSD ultimately we want to look like and what it could look like going forward. And I'd like to share with you some examples of really good engagements that we've had with employers going forward. We're up now. Beautiful, thank you very much. So unfortunately, the first thing I need to share with you is probably the worst graph that you will see during this conference. This is showing the movement of people in receipt of job seeker benefit over the last few years. Specifically what the subgroup of job seeker we call the work ready benefit. These are the people who have full-time work obligations and are ready to go to work. As you can see, a couple of years after COVID, we've started to increase, unfortunately, much more than we would have liked. Just recently, we've crested the highest unemployment numbers of recent memory. 120,000 job seekers work ready on benefit right now. That's more than we had at the peak of COVID. So what that means is MSD is now hugely laser focused on supporting all of them back into employment. This is a very different world to the 23-odd thousand job seekers that we had when the RSE scheme started. So the people on benefit now look very, very different than they did at the start of the scheme. That means we've got more people, higher skilled, broader range of skilled, and very, very interested in any opportunity to return to work. And the reason that we really badly want your engagement and we need to work with you is the exact same reasons that I've been hearing in my time here in this conference. The New Zealanders that we are presenting to you to get work opportunities are looking for the skills boosts that the RSE workers receive through getting into work. They're looking for security, even in the short term, and many more of them than we've had before will certainly be wanting to consider this sort of work. Given that we understand historically not all New Zealanders may be interested in short-term horticultural work, but that is definitely changing. The short-term jobs and your long-term opportunities as well help our New Zealanders to be able to stay away from the benefit system. We're very aware of the negative consequences of spending too much time on benefit, and staying connected to employment is incredibly important, especially for our youth coming new to benefit who may be looking for opportunities and skills to be able to lead them into careers, or at very least be able to have something they can put on their CV to make them appeal more to workers down the line. Now, that all said, definitely acknowledge that MSD does not have all of your labour supply. There's going to be skills mismatches. There's going to be location mismatches. That 120,000 people are not all the exact right skills in the exact right place, and we acknowledge that. But we really want to work with you to be able to secure as many jobs for as many of these people as we possibly can. Last year, we placed around 4,000 people into the horticulture industry. So we definitely have them out there willing and interested in going into these jobs. We have roughly 20,000 people that we can identify that on paper are ready to go into this kind of work. And that will just be a subset of all the people who could be trained or interested but haven't thought about it yet. So, with that in mind, the basics of engagement. What MSD really wants to see, in very pragmatic terms, is we need the ATRs no more than 6 months away from the start date. This enables us to paint the best picture of our upcoming labour supply as we possibly can. Too far into the future, and it becomes far too murky for us to be able to meaningfully identify what staff we'll have available. And if they're joint ATRs, supply them all as a package. They need to come in at once because we need to be able to understand the full need of that particular application, especially if it's a multi-regional joint ATR, because our regions are at varying stages of economic recovery. They've all got different skills and they've all got different numbers of people available in different areas. So we'll need to reference across multiple business units in order to help you progress that application. Give their candidates a chance. We want to make sure that they're considered and interviewed, and most importantly, that we hear back from you afterwards. This is not just important for MSD to understand and learn and grow about making sure that the referrals that we're sending to you are the right ones, but for the candidates as well. They need to understand why they weren't successful if they're not being taken on, so that we can work with them. If it's a skill that was missing, then maybe that's a conversation that we needed to have with you first. If there's an attitude problem or an attendance problem, then we definitely want to know about that because we want to work with that client and get them better prepared. We're looking for the same opportunities for our New Zealanders as are being offered to the RSE staff. That's in the roles and the hours and the opportunities for upskilling. We want you to consider MSD's supports. We have a wide range of employment supports that can help people that you might not otherwise think are quite ready to get the training they need to become ready. We want to know that you're looking wider than just us. We want to be able to identify that you're looking to hire New Zealanders from all reasonable avenues. And the annual labour plan is incredibly important. It gives us a picture of your workforce and a glimpse into your work needs. We don't receive the entire ATR application, so this is a key thing for us to be able to quantify what's going on in your business. But even more importantly than the labour plan is the discussion that needs to happen as part of the submission of that plan. We want to talk to you about your work needs. We want to be able to make sure that the candidates we send you are absolutely suitable for your work. And that's hard to do if all we know about them is a job title that's been requested. The more information you're able to provide to us and the more open you are to engaging and having those conversations about what we could possibly do to help, the better, faster, and more seamlessly we'll be able to support that ATR. And your other job applications as well. If you have permanent roles, we're more than happy to take those on. And we're more than happy to discuss your needs. If the permanent roles are better suited to our clients, then we can work with you on those and fast-track your ATR. Beyond those, what we'd really like to be able to see is identifying skills shortages as early as possible. Even before you're thinking about going through your recruitment cycle, you can come to us and tell us about what skills you think you're missing, and we might be able to set something up ahead of time. If you're submitting an ATR 6 months out, that's 6 months we have to work with you to prepare people that we have to be able to do the work. Ideally, we'd like to see the same sorts of opportunities in terms of the supports provided to our New Zealanders as well. Transport options to be able to get to remote locations, training and pastoral care. And where possible, we'd love for you to consider our disadvantaged workers. There was a really good example in the employer panel earlier today of an EFD referral that they took a chance on and supported them from temporary work into full-time work, permanent work. That's the kind of story that we hear, and that's the kind of thing that we really want you to continue to think about when you're engaging with us, is if you think somebody's got a chance, talk to us about the supports we can offer. They could turn into a really valuable employee for you in the long run. We've got some really good examples of some things that we're doing with employers around the country, and I'd just like to share some of these with you to really drive home when employers go above and beyond and work alongside us, we can achieve some really good things. Now, we acknowledge that this is just a cross-selection that my team has managed to locate for me, and I do acknowledge that there are a lot more employers than this who are out there doing everything they can to help us secure jobs for New Zealanders, and I want to give you all a huge thank you for that. But for these examples, down in the southern region, Clyde Orchards and CAJ Orchards, who both engage with MSD's Limited Service Volunteer Program, which is a program for youth which puts them on a 6-week training course where they're given a sense of structure, they're given a sort of basic boot camp training, as it were, and are able to get into a rhythm, become ready and used to the idea of getting up, going to work, putting in a hard day's work. So they're not necessarily learning the right skills, but they're getting that work ethic drilled into them. And that's turned into a lot of really good recruits for those two businesses. We've worked alongside Clyde Orchard to develop a tractor training program. CAJ has utilised MSD Skills for Industry program to train forklift drivers. And both of these employers are engaged with governance groups to work towards supporting attracting local workers into their industry. Further up the country, in the top of the south, Vinepower and Thornhill. Vinepower's engaged in initiatives to support disadvantaged workers, working alongside Red Cross, which has resulted in securing roles for local refugees and giving an opportunity to a candidate supported by corrections and putting them on a career pathway they may not otherwise have been able to achieve. Thornhill is running a youth pilot aimed at overcoming barriers for young people, such as access to transport, minimal work experience or mental health challenges, and homelessness. And while these initiatives are small in scale, they're making a massive difference to the lives of the people who now have paid employment that could have been on a very different path otherwise. In fact, some of these initiatives are so popular, they're being looked at by other industries as ways to attract local workers. And up in the North Island, Garcia Contracting and Gourmet Paprika. Garcia Contracting engages across all 4 Western Bay of Plenty MSD sites, and supported with the New Zealand Seasonal Work Scheme, they are addressing transport barriers through the utilisation of centralised pickup points to be able to transport their workers in the country to the remote locations. And Gourmet Paprika has worked alongside MSD to increase local participation in their glasshouse roles, offering work trials, hosting visits at MSD sites to familiarise potential job seekers with the work environment and skills requirements. So I hope I've given you a sense of what MSD would like to get from you in terms of our communication, but ultimately it's about a sense of collaboration. We want to make sure that we're supporting as many of our people into appropriate roles as we can, and we need you to work alongside us, keep in communication, keep an open mind for our supports, and keep talking to us while we work through the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron, for that. Are there any questions for Aaron?
Yep. Thanks for the insight. I'm Jay from Pickhawks Bay. Whilst I can appreciate what you're standing there saying about how MSD wants to help us as employers and so forth, what there has to be with MSD, and I really actually, over the last few conferences that I've attended, the same thing comes back, that not all regions are working under the same mantra at MSD. Bay of Plenty work very well with their employers. Hawke's Bay, not so much. Quite often we're actually held to ransom with additional demands. And when we end up, not so much folding is the wrong word, but when we decide to actually go, okay, let's try that, the next comments that come are, we've given that inch, now they want to take a mile. And so the expectation for the so-called relationship is very one-sided. And certainly in Hawke's Bay, what I've found is that in the main, they don't work with the employer. They have one directive, and that is supposed to be a blanket cover that covers all employers, yet not two businesses are the same. And so what I would encourage you to do is to actually get each region on the same page so that there is one standard, and that is a standard that all of us can then hope to achieve, and we know what to expect. And then the engagement becomes better, and then you get a working relationship that is ongoing and understood, so that each individual business, orchard, whatever, their needs are actually taken into account on a personal nature, so that those relationships can continue and make our ATR processes not held up.
Thank you. So that's very timely. We are working on a universal guidance for all of our frontline at the moment. So expect that to improve dramatically very soon, I would say.
Down the front.
Thank you for the informative talk, which I think we were all expecting, and there were no surprises there. Just, I don't know if you can help with this, but you have one, there is an inhibitor there, and that is, we're all pushed to build seasonal worker accommodation. I'll change that. We're pushed to build RSE accommodation. However, when we get our resource consents from our council, it states only allowed to be used for RSE. If you could change that so it's for any seasonal worker, it might just open a few doors.
That's some excellent insight. Thank you.
I think we've covered our bases. Aaron, thank you for your talk.
Thank you.